Welcome to episode 191 of the Various and Sundry podcast. I'm your host, Matt Harmon, joined live from the Vault Studio on the beautiful campus of Grace College and Theological Seminary by my good friend, my colleague, my co-host, and the man who led over 400 freshmen on the hike and did not lose a single one, John Scott Sloat.
And they all got lunch this year, which did not happen last year. So we're very pleased that they all got lunch.
Yeah, it's good to make sure they're fed. I mean, that kind of feels like a responsibility that we should take care of.
In fact, my first half of the day, once the rules and everything were given, I drove around campus in a golf cart. Did y'all get lunch yet? Did you go get food? You go get food? And I told one group as they're on their way out to Miller Field that they needed to get lunch. They're like, oh yeah, we're just going to go check some things. And they had about a half hour to get from Miller Field to lunch in time for food. And they just came under the wire. But it was close.
All right.
It was close.
Now, did any of the cardboard boats not sink?
More made it this year than any other year previous.
Really?
Yes, they did a good job this year.
Okay. Is there something you attribute this to?
We changed. So we always said in the past, like, you have to make 2 boats. This year we changed the rules so that you could make 2 boats that would run 2 different times, or you could make 1 boat that holds 2 people that must run twice.
Okay.
So could you see the trade-off there? Like,
Sure.
You have to run that same boat in multiple heats.
Yeah.
A number of people went with that, and I think the craftsmanship quality of pouring your resources into a boat rather than 2 boats went up quite a bit.
And how many rolls of duct tape do you give each group?
So the scavenger hunt portion of the game, every point they earn gets them basically something we call a rulian or a hike buck that they can then spend at the store however they see fit.
So they have to determine.
They have to determine how to spend that buck.
Are they given a specific amount of cardboard? Is that?
They have to buy sheets of cardboard. We only guarantee a certain amount.
Okay.
But they can buy up to a certain amount as well. It's like 4 sheets. They can either buy 4 sheets or up to 7 sheets of cardboard. And then I think it's 7 or 8 rolls of duct tape as well that they can purchase.
All right.
So it's a pretty interesting.
And whose job is it to go out and buy all the cardboard and duct tape and have that ready?
We have people for that. People do it.
People, not you.
No, not me. No, my job is to come in, hype everybody up, tell the rules, come up with unique wrinkles for the games that we do, and overall, I think it went very well. Normally, I'm running around putting out fires this day, but I think we've got such a well-oiled machine that I did not have many fires to put out today.
That's good.
Last week.
Okay.
So I've recovered. I went home and fell asleep at about 9:15.
And that's different. How from?
It's about a half hour earlier than I usually fall asleep. And I slept a full 9 hours that night.
Okay.
So
wow. Wiped you out.
It did. It did.
Well, if you'd like to get in touch with the show and ask John for your own tips on building a cardboard boat, you can reach us on Twitter/X at VNSPod. Email the show, variousandsundrypodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, and you can find us on YouTube. And, of course, we would hopefully politely request that you leave us a 5-star rating and a review on whatever platform you access the show.
Yeah, I don't think we've had one on an Apple podcast in a long, long time.
It's been a while, yeah.
And I know we have some listeners out there that have not.
No, for sure, yeah.
So would love to see a 5-star rating and review.
Yeah, why not? What else you got to do today? Right? Come on.
Yeah.
It takes you 5 seconds, 10 seconds?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, John, you ready to talk some sports?
Sure.
Let's do it. So we are still in the midst of NFL preseason. I imagine you were quite excited that you actually got to see Aaron Rodgers on the field in a Jets uniform.
It was very exciting. And he threw a touchdown to Garrett Wilson.
That's my boy.
Did you see it on Twitter, I assume?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I it only reinforced my conclusion that I think Garrett Wilson could have a monstrous year.
Absolutely.
With Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
So I think, the stars have aligned for Garrett Wilson to make that leap into one of the 5 best wide receivers in the league, potentially 5 to 7 best.
Yeah, I think that's right. So. I think he'll have a lot of fun.
yeah, I think so.
I think the direct quote after the game was, "Playing football with Aaron Rodgers makes football a lot of fun."
I bet. So, all right, we've got a few more weeks, I guess. But do you want to do your preseason prediction for the Jets?
Oh my goodness!
Because I have to do mine for Ohio State because their first game is coming up this weekend. So you got to do it before the season starts.
Next week's episode we're recording this week.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll do it later this week.
Okay.
Because that'll be the episode that drops September 12th? No, it'll drop Labor Day. Labor Day, or the day after Labor Day.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, but here's the thing. Maybe we got to think this through because here's the tension. We're going to record that episode Wednesday, and it won't drop until – so we're recording it before Ohio State's first game, but it'll drop
after. Well, who are they playing in their first game?
Indiana.
First game of the season is against Indiana, really?
Yeah. It should not be much of a game.
Well, that's kind of like playing Miami of Ohio or
it's probably a step up. But, yeah, I mean – it is a conference game, but IU has fallen on hard times of the last couple of years, so it should not be. But here's the thing: we still don't know who the starting quarterback is for Ohio State. Yeah. So that'll be news, and of course there'll be all of the did he do well enough? So I have an idea, but I'll discuss it with you off pod.
Oh,
in the event that you don't want to do it. So I don't want to put you on the spot on the pod about my idea. So we can talk about that off pod. So
are you going to make a prediction for Ohio State or are you going to wait till Wednesday?
Well, I need to – I'll do it now. I think Ohio State will win. You talk about season, though?
Season. But you think they'll win this first game?
Yes.
Okay.
I think –
I would assume I will also pick Ohio State to beat Indiana.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go out on a limb there.
Yeah, if they don't, they have
known
bigger
as the
problems.
Trunk of the tree.
Yeah. I will say that here's my prediction. Obviously, I hope they go undefeated and win the national title. That's obviously what I'm hoping for.
Okay.
My prediction is that Ohio State goes 11-1 in the regular season.
Who's the one lost to?
Well, that's the tricky part. I can see 4 games on their schedule that they could lose.
Okay.
Could. I mean, I guess anything can happen, but the most losable games are at Notre Dame.
Okay.
At Wisconsin.
Okay.
At Michigan.
Okay.
And home against Penn State.
Okay.
I can
all top 25 teams. Yes.
Wisconsin is a question mark.
It's like a bubble.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm predicting 11-1, but I'm not sure who that loss is going to come from. Honestly, if I had to pick one of those games to lose, I'd prefer it be the Wisconsin game. That'd probably be the one I'd prefer.
Okay.
And I think they will make the college football playoff.
At 11-1.
At 11-1.
And in this scenario, they win
Yes.
the Big Ten?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I mean, 2 teams got in last year. Ohio State got in last year without winning the Big Ten. So.
Okay.
So basically.
You heard it here first.
There you go. I mean, I think if both Ohio State and Michigan are undefeated going into that game.
They both make the playoff.
They both make the playoff. Unless, I mean, I guess it's possible that doesn't happen, but Yeah. So, and then my prediction is that I just don't know that this year's team is built. There's just too many question marks to be confident to say this is going to happen. But again, I think they will probably lose in the semifinals. Again, you don't know the matchups and all that kind of stuff, but I think making the playoff would be an excellent year for them. I can see, like, if things fall into place, they could win a national title. But a lot of things have to fall into place. So the first one being, of course, picking a quarterback. That's kind of a big deal. So, all right. Do you want to give us our Hard Knocks update?
Sure. My goodness, in this most recent episode, they set this up nicely, but they had some guy. I believe they practiced with Tampa Bay in this episode, and the guys are on the sideline going, "Who's going to be his Devontae Adams? Who's going to be Aaron Rodgers' Devontae Adams?" And that led to a 7-minute montage of Garrett Wilson catching passes. And it became the Garrett Wilson show for 7 to 8 minutes.
Okay.
So that was part of it. They zeroed in on 2 bubble guys. One guy last name Smart, Tanzel Smart, defensive lineman. He's been on the Jets for 4 years, but was on like 3 other teams the season before.
Yeah. And
they're like doing interviews with his wife and his daughter.
Oh no.
You know they're doing all those things, and you're just like, oh no. Hard Knocks clearly thinks he's going to get cut. And then they did one with a wide receiver, Xavier Gibson, who's returning kicks for them and looks really good in the return game. And they're wondering if he's going to make the team. We will see. So they did a bit of that, and that's always a little hard to watch.
Yeah.
Very, very hard to watch. Quentin Williams, who got the big contract, at the practice with the Bucs, Mike Evans called him fat. And he took offense to this in like a very funny way.
Yeah.
He's like, "Did you hear Mike Evans call me fat?" He goes, "You're a nose tackle.
You're supposed to.
You're supposed to be fat." And then one of two, "But you look really good for a fat guy," and started having these. And of course, this is all profanity laden and all sorts of stuff. Anything else? Oh, they have a running back, goes Izzy. I think his last name's Israel or something like that. But this guy who had knee-to-knee contact in the game.
Ouch.
And they had him mic'd up on the field with Hard Knocks.
Oh.
And he's laying there on the ground going like, "I can't feel beneath my knee. I can't feel beneath my knee."
Yikes.
And oddly enough, X-rays came back negative. So it sounds like he just got a stinger.
Yeah.
And it deadened his leg. And by the end of the game, he was walking around on crutches, but seems like he'll be ready for the season. Okay. So, but that was scary, right? He's from Long Island. He's from the New York area. And his whole family was at the preseason game, and they're like, they have cameras on his family when he's down on the field. It was just very emotional.
Yeah, that's hard to watch.
Yes, and it was kind of fun. Like, he got to introduce his coaches to his mom, and it was kind of like, I don't know. I remember introducing my teachers and my professors to my parents, and my professors being like, You got a good one here, saying like obligatory nice things. Yeah, and it was like it had very similar vibes. I'm like, oh, is that what these relationships are like? That's interesting.
Yeah, that's funny.
But that's your Hard Knocks 3 minutes here.
Okay, there we go. We kind of mentioned this. Not really. Like, this past weekend was week 0 of college football.
Notre Dame played. Who else played?
USC. Those are the only 2 big name teams that played. Both won comfortably.
USC I saw it on Twitter, had like some weird plays. Like, I know the quarterback fumbled the ball, picked it up, and then threw a touchdown.
Yeah. USC looks like they're basically the same as last year. Like, great offense and terrible defense. So, I'm sure all the Notre Dame fans are very excited about their new quarterback, Sam Hartman.
Mm-hmm.
Just a reminder, they were playing Navy. Navy's not especially good this year.
I think in what'd they win by?
It was like 42-3.
In the third quarter, they were up 28-0.
Oh yeah.
And that doesn't feel like enough of a margin in the third quarter.
They dominated the game. So we'll see. College football is so weird in the sense of
I love football season. I'm so glad it's coming back.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. So excited for
And it's going to be first time on pod where the Jets are good.
Yeah.
This is going to be a fun season if the Jets are dominating.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be fun regardless because if they're great, you're going to be reveling in their greatness.
Yes.
And if they're shockingly bad, we're going to have
great content.
Yeah, so
yeah.
It all works out well for us. So, all right, John, you ready to move on?
Sure.
In our never-ending quest to talk about articles, we're talking about another article. We are discussing do you call this an article, a post?
Substack.
Substack.
It's a Substack.
By Ryan Burge, who you've heard us mention him before if you listen to the pod.
It's probably the third article Substack we've done by him.
I think at least. Basically, he's a numbers guy. He analyzes data typically about religion in particular, religion in connection with politics, with culture, etc., church life. That's kind of his gig. And he had a post entitled "The Current State of Seminary Education in the United States." And we'll put a link to this. You can read the first, what I'm guessing is probably the first third maybe of it.
Yeah.
Before you get to the paywall. But that's plenty of content for us here. And I will say to our listeners, if some of you might be like, oh, that does not sound very exciting, data about seminary enrollment. We're going to do our best to make the case as to why you should care.
Okay.
Even as a non-seminary interested person. I feel like if you're a Christian, you should care about this.
Really?
Yeah. Just about these trends.
Give me the elevator pitch. Why would you say that?
Well, I think he's correct when he refers in this article to seminaries as the canary in the mine when it comes to the
canary
health.
in the coal mine.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
In terms of the health of the church.
So the healthier the church, the larger seminary enrollment is?
The larger the overall enrollment for seminary, probably the more likely the churches are to be healthier.
Okay.
That good seminary education leads to healthier churches.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So he is basing this data on information derived from the Association of Theological Schools, which is the basically the main accrediting agency for all seminaries in the United States.
Do you know where they're headquartered in?
I don't.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh, I did know that. Yeah.
Can I tell you a quick story about it?
Sure.
I was at a conference once, and the CFO of the Association of Theological Schools was going to speak. And when I go to these things, there was probably 100 people there. And I'll sometimes seek out new people to talk to, and found a guy sitting by himself, sort of 3/4 of the way back in the room, sat down with him, struck up a conversation. And I knew the CFO of ATS was going to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I struck up a conversation with him. It was the CFO of ATS I sat down next to. And I said, hey, what's your name? Where are you from? And he mentioned, I'm like, oh, so you're speaking tonight? He goes, yes, I hate speaking. I hate it when seminaries ask me to do this.
He's the CFO?
Yeah, financial officer.
Why is he speaking?
So he was talking about funding seminaries into the future.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so apparently you have your finance guy come in and speak about this. And so he's just like, I hate doing this. It's going to be It's going to be awkward. It's going to be awful.
That's not a good sign when the guy speaking says that.
And it was actually a fun conversation. Right. But I remember him leaving, going like, he is not excited to be here.
Why should I be?
Yes. So the other thing that I haven't mentioned is this happened at the Harley Davidson. The conference itself was at the Harley Davidson Museum, Milwaukee.
Okay.
And it was Thursday night. It was bike night. And so here come all these seminary guys trouncing in their sport coats and blue blazers and
khaki pants.
For a discussion of how to fund seminary into the future in a conference center at the Harley Davidson Museum.
Yeah.
While outside you can hear all the bikes revving vroom, vroom, and shooting down the road while this guy's standing up there for an hour.
Oof.
He was not excited to talk for an hour about trends in theological education's finances. Riveting.
Really?
No, that's sarcasm.
Okay.
I remember he spoke for an hour, and all I could think of, what a world I live in where we can have a seminary discussion while all these bikes are flaring in the background. Anyway, that came to mind.
Okay. I remember you've told me that not the part about you – I don't remember you telling me the story of actually like talking with the guy, but I remember the story of it happening at the Harley Davidson Museum. Yeah, what an interesting place to choose to do that.
And we had barbecue. I remember that too. They served us barbecue and mac and cheese. Like, it was delicious.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the organization. I mean, that's the gold standard of accrediting.
Yeah.
And it's so every year they produce a report. All of us as seminaries are required to submit information. And basically what he does is he takes a look at enrollment. He's looking at enrollment numbers. And probably the most useful way to measure enrollment in a seminary is what's called FTE, full-time equivalent, meaning that instead of counting the number of distinct students, you count up the number of courses that each student is taking. And so if there are two students that are only taking a half load, so they're each taking 2 classes instead of like 4 classes for the semester, together those 2 students equal 1 FTE, full-time equivalent. So that's kind of the number that is used most often to just assess enrollment. All right, so you want to go through the top 5 seminaries here in terms of enrollment?
Sure. You want to start at number 5?
Yeah, let's start with number 5.
Okay, you want me to go first?
Yes.
Okay, so number 5, if I am counting correctly, Asbury Theological Seminary.
Yeah, down in Wilmore, Kentucky.
Have you been there?
I have.
Yeah, I was just on campus a few months ago.
I have been. I mean,
they're a newcomer.
They have an undergrad. What do you mean by newcomer?
Newcomer. They've grown a lot in the last 10 years.
I think that's true, yeah. But their undergrad is also the site of, if we're calling it a revival, spiritual awakening, whatever that event was back in, when was that? February?
Yeah.
February, March?
In the spring.
Somewhere around there. Yes, and so they have a full-time equivalent of 1,156 students. So that means they have more actual people than that, more people taking classes than that. But when you average it out to how many full-time equivalent students is that, it's 1,156.
Yeah. It's and I think it's a respected school.
Yeah.
Would you say that?
Yeah.
Is well regarded?
Methodist / Wesleyan tradition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Politically conservative. I know they had Ben Carson there to speak not that long ago.
Yeah. I think I would say center right.
Okay. Ready for number 4?
Let's do it.
Dallas Theological Seminary.
All right. Yeah. With 1,702. So a pretty big jump to number 4.
Yep. Good sized jump. I believe they still only offer the THM. They don't
That's
offer
correct.
the MDiv,
They
right?
do not offer a Master of Divinity.
So that's a unique niche they
Yep.
have.
They also have a pretty large Master of Arts program, though.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you been on campus there, Dallas Theological? I never have been.
No, I have not.
Okay.
I have not.
Historically dispensational school?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, number 3, Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary,
Yeah.
our first Southern Baptist school.
1,728.
So just a bump.
Just barely beat out Dallas for third on the list.
You've been on campus there, haven't you?
I have.
You've spoken in chapel there?
I have.
Got nothing else to say about it?
I liked it. It was
Okay.
a nice place.
Yeah. Are you a fan of Kansas City?
I don't know that I've really spent enough time in Kansas City to say either way.
Okay.
So it's an open question.
Okay. What side of Kansas City is it on? Is it Missouri?
Missouri side.
Okay. I suppose to be Midwestern, you'd have to be on the because
Kansas is still considered Midwest, isn't it?
is it?
Yeah.
We need a plains distinction out there.
Yeah.
you know.
Plains is usually further north, though, like the Dakotas.
I lump Kansas in there. Anyway, let's move on. So that was number 3. Number 2, Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, or as they would say, the flagship seminary of the Southern Baptist Convention.
Yeah. Though, if you look at that number, they're at 1,819.
Yep.
Which is, I expected that to be larger.
Mm-hmm. I know when I was there, we talked about it being 5,000 seminary students. Now, I realize that's different than FTE.
Right.
But we talked about it being 5,000 seminary students.
Yeah, and that still could be – both those numbers could be basically correct.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because you've got students who are taking one class at a time, chipping away at a degree because they're working full time and don't can only take one class a semester kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know people who went there that got their MDiv in like 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a slow
They took their
grind.
sweet time.
Yeah. And then number 1 on the list by a substantial margin.
Yes, I believe he makes the point that if you take 2 and 3 and put them together, number 1 is still bigger.
Yes.
Liberty University.
Liberty.
LU.
Yeah.
The John W. Rawlings School of Divinity.
3,549. So almost double what number 2 is. So, yeah, that's –
You ever been on campus there to Liberty?
I have not.
I have been. I was just recently there.
Really? Conference? Like what?
When I say recently, I mean the last year. So November, I was there on campus. Grace has a number of grads that work there both in the undergrad and the seminary there.
Okay. There you
go. We have a grad who is sort of a famed biblical studies professor there, who was also on the original Council for Biblical Manhood and Womanhood, believe it or not. Grace grad. And he showed me around, showed me where his season tickets are for football and all these things. And
nice.
He said, I've seen every building built on campus.
Whoa. Yeah.
He was there 40 years before he retired.
The next infographic they have on this is broken down by denominations with the biggest head counts.
And these aren't denominations attending seminaries, right? This is just –
these are schools basically looking at a school and saying, what is your self-proclaimed identification in terms of denomination? So some are obviously Southern Baptist. There's interdenominational. There's Roman Catholic. It's interesting. I'm not sure how they're distinguishing between interdenominational and non-denominational. Did you?
I imagine that's the same. Oh, but non-denominational is on there.
It's
Never
listed
mind.
Separately.
Yeah, interdenominational. I'm still confused by this chart a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I just don't know how we – and maybe the issue is less about the article and it is more just going – you have to go look at the actual ATS report and see what's going on there. But in terms of denominational affiliation, so by far the largest is the interdenominational category, which again
feels a bit nebulous.
Yes. At a total of 10,794 FTE equivalent, full-time.
No, these are head counts.
It says FTE head count.
Oh, you're right. FTE head count.
Yeah. So actual number of students would be much larger in those cases. But interdenominational, 10,794. Southern Baptist is next, which that I would have
expected it to be number one, which it kind of is number one.
Yeah.
If you take it. If you have to have a denomination.
Correct. At 7,415, yeah. Roman Catholic at 4,700.
Yeah. I know they have a seminary in Cincinnati. I'm trying to remember where else they have seminaries.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And here's the thing. Like, this is not reflecting what students at institutions say they are.
This is institutions with students.
This is their institutional affiliation. And then everybody at the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary in this chart counts as a Southern Baptist, even though there are non-Southern Baptists attending.
I would have counted as a Southern Baptist student when I was at Southern.
Yes, though you did attend a Southern Baptist church
I
to
did.
get the tuition break.
Yes, because you get 50% off if you're a
hard to beat that.
Yeah.
But for example, Trinity is the evangelical free church, and not everybody who goes to Trinity is an evangelical free individual. So, but I guess I was a little surprised at that number for Roman Catholic. That's the number that stood out to me.
Yeah.
In terms of seminary students.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see here. So those are the two big. I think part of what caught my attention is he made the statement, and maybe this was in his tweet. I'm looking, or is it the beginning of here?
I think it was in the tweet. If I know what you're saying about, I can look it up real quick.
He made some comment about seminary enrollment overall, in terms of just overall numbers, is actually up from 20 years ago. It wasn't that the gist of the.
No, you're exactly right. Let me.
Because that's sort of counterintuitive in one sense, based on. Now, I think here's the thing: the reason that that's true is that it's bounced back.
Mm-hmm.
That if you look at the numbers 10 years ago or 5 years ago, they were down.
So here's the tweet I believe you're speaking of. A new post today about the state of seminary education in the United States using data from ATS. In 2003, ATS reported a total of 47,748 full-time equivalent seminarians in their entire system. In 2022, that number rose to 50,208, up 5% in the last 2 decades.
Yeah. But I am absolutely confident that if you looked at the numbers 5 years ago, that number would have been lower. That only within the last few years, post-COVID, has that number gotten back up to what the levels were in 2002, I guess, and then exceeded them.
Mm-hmm. And I guess nationally, is that COVID bump going to remain? Is it going to dip back down?
Yeah,
is it going to continue to rise?
I hope it continues to rise. That'd be good for both of us.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think one factor that's contributing to this is ATS itself is allowing more stuff to be done online.
Mm-hmm.
There used to be a lot more until was it 2 years ago? You could not do a fully online accredited Master of Divinity degree.
Mm-hmm.
You had to take some sort of classes in person on campus.
Yeah. And that's the only reason I think Liberty was on this list, right? Because Liberty, most of their students are online.
Yes.
And until they made that switch where a fully online MDiv could be fully remote,
yeah,
then they got ATS accreditation, and
yeah.
started producing all these things.
Yep. And we are just, as of this fall, launching our own fully online Master of Divinity degree.
Which is having a
great start so far.
good
Very
attendance.
encouraged.
Yeah.
Very encouraged. And I think that's probably a part of the bump. And I think as a layperson, you should prefer that your pastors have seminary education, not just a Bible college degree, which, a Bible degree is great, but seminary takes it to the next level in terms oftentimes of language acquisition as well as just depth of study and learning to think biblically and theologically. And that's a good thing for a church to want in their pastors, to be able to think that way, to teach in those ways, to be informed in their decision-making based on those things. And it's never been more accessible than it is right now.
Yeah.
In the history of the world, really, in terms of at least the United States.
Yeah.
The accessibility issue is never been easier.
Yeah. And not that there shouldn't be exceptions to that. I mean, there are always exceptions, but the vast majority of pastors should have some level of seminary education.
And if you're a church, I would urge you to enable your pastors, if you have pastoral staff that don't have that, find ways to help them pursue it financially, carving out time in their schedules. And even for those who already have it, the sort of ongoing education, for lack of a better word, ongoing lifelong learning, it is wise to invest in the ongoing theological education of your pastors.
Yep.
And part of that is giving them generous, allowances for books, to attend conferences. Plenty of schools, put on seminars and things like that for pastors. Even going on to get a Doctor of Ministry degree, which is not as academically rigorous as a PhD program. There are all sorts of those opportunities, and I think churches should prioritize resourcing their pastoral staff to pursue those, circumstances permitting, obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
And hey, let's put in a plug for our own institution, right? We have we have Master of Arts online programs. We have the fully online Master of Divinity program. We have our traditional residential seminary. Come study in the classroom with us.
We probably have our most interesting program is Deploy, right? This competency-based theological education that's different and really resonates with some people.
Yeah, so it's based in the local church where you get a spiritual life mentor as well as a ministry mentor, and you take coursework through us, and there's just a good synergy between the church and us providing that kind of theological education. And it is competency-based, meaning that you demonstrate competency in certain areas, and then you move on to the next one. So,
and the biggest difference about that program is you pay, instead of paying by the course, you pay a monthly fee to be a part of it, and you get as much seminary as you want.
Yeah, as much as you can reasonably handle.
As you can handle. That's right.
That's right. So if you're interested, hit us up. You can go on to seminary.grace. What is it now?
Seminary.grace.edu.
Seminary.grace.edu. There you go. And find out more about our different programs.
Or find our email on the website and shoot us an email.
We'll talk to you about it. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Time for us to move on, John. You ready?
Sounds good.
All right. Time now for this day in sports history.
All right. Today in sports history, August 29th. How did we get to the end of August already? I feel like I say that every month. August 29th, 1960, Swedish canoeist. I did not know a canoeist was a thing. It's not canoer, it's canoeist.
I believe so.
Okay. Gert Fredriksson. Did I get that right?
I think so.
Okay. And Sven Olav. Oh, boy. Delicis.
I think the J sound there turns into an 8. So the J turns. I think it's Shudelius.
And the umlaut there is really
the
thrown.
on the O. Yeah.
Win the K2 1,000 meter in is that 3 minutes and 34 seconds?
Yeah.
At the Rome Olympics, Fredriksson 6 gold medal in 4 Olympic Games.
Okay.
That was a tough first one.
It was a rough start.
I hope it gets better. 2004 Athens Olympics marathon is run on the same route as the 1896 Games. What a fun
That's cool. Yeah.
little moment there. Start at the site of the Battle of Marathon to the Panathenaic
Yeah, sure.
Stadium in Athens. Stefano Baldini of Italy wins men's gold in 2 hours, 10 minutes, and 55 seconds.
That'd be a pretty cool thing to be able to run a marathon on the
cool.
original course.
Yeah. Over a couple hundred years old. All right, on this day, 2018 star quarterback Aaron Rodgers, that one I know, signs NFL record contract extension with the Green Bay Packers, 4 years, $134 million, rising to possibly $180 million with a record $103 million in guarantees.
It's a lot of money.
Which has now been surpassed by Kirk Cousins, right?
Oh, sure. These contracts get surpassed every year.
I think Cousins got a fully guaranteed contract.
Yeah, that's hard to believe. But
2022, St. Louis Cardinals slugger Albert Pujols hits a career home run, 694 off Major League record 450th different pitcher in a 13-14 win over the Reds in Cincinnati.
That's a lot of different pitchers.
That is a lot of different pitchers. Albert Pujols on the 100 greatest baseball players of all time.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, he deserves a spot.
Yeah, so who do you like out of that?
I kind of like the marathon. Just because it's at the same site as the 1896 Games. That's a blast.
I can go with that. All right. One thing you liked.
I'm going to highlight one of my favorite Sundays of the year at our church, and it is Food Truck Sunday.
Yeah.
So that was this past weekend, this past Sunday, and they did a little bit different this year. They set up a tent in the back rather than just sort of open air, and they had basically everybody from the church and all attenders inside this tent or just beyond the edge of the tent.
Yeah.
And preach. It had a very historic Winona Lake feel to it.
Yeah.
Waiting for our pastor to stand up on the piano like Billy Sunday and talk to us about the evils of tobacco and alcohol.
Our pastor is much taller than Billy Sunday was.
Billy Sunday, a short guy.
He was a very diminutive man.
Really? That explains a lot.
Like 5 feet tall.
Yeah, that explains a lot.
Like 5'2".
Well, I think he's a second baseman. Was Billy Sunday second baseman?
I don't remember what position he played. But the statue down in Winona Lake Park area down there, I think that's basically life size, even though it's pretty small.
Really?
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I didn't think that was him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what else do you like about Food Truck Sunday besides the –
there's food trucks, but I did enjoy this year that I had a good nod to Winona Lake history in there.
Yeah.
But good time catching up with church members and seeing groups of kids play soccer and then kick the ball into the woods, and then the dads come over and are trouncing through the woods looking for this ball.
Yeah.
Just felt like, oh, yeah, there's something right about that and good about that, and it was good connecting with a few people there. And
did you see one of the dads brought a portable disc golf basket?
No, I missed that.
Yeah, it was back in the corner back there. And so his kids were, tossing the discs into –
Getting in some reps.
Getting in some reps. Got to work on the putting.
Nice.
So my one thing is something you don't even know about.
No, I saw this on the rundown. I have no clue what this is.
So yesterday, in the afternoon after Food Truck Sunday was over, so I think we've mentioned we have a Brit living in our home.
Yep.
And so he's the new popular kid in the church, getting invited everywhere.
Well, he's like, how tall is he? 6'4"?
I think 6'5", 6'6", actually. He's pretty tall.
He's a sizable fella.
Yeah. Though he is shrinking.
Really?
I don't think he'd mind me saying this, but he's been training for a half marathon and also been doing some adjustments to his diet. So he's lost some weight.
Oh, I thought you meant height.
No.
Like the pounding on the pavement is calling him to get smaller and smaller.
No, I mean, I think I've started to shrink a little bit myself. I've reached the stage of life where I start to shrink. So,
Well, how short do you think you'll get?
I think I'll lose an inch.
Okay. So this isn't going to be like a Benjamin Button situation.
No, I'm not Benjamin Button.
Where you get real small.
No. Anyway, so there's an individual in our church who has his own plane.
Okay. Didn't know about that.
And he invited Ben to go flying with him and said, yeah, the Harmons can go along if they want, come along if they want. So I went. My beloved bride did not.
Interesting.
She doesn't handle the queasiness that can be induced by flying in a small plane. So yeah, he took us up, and it was fun. It was a nice. I mean, it seated 6 people, so it was a small plane, but not super
with
small.
3 of you in there, it's quite roomy, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we flew out to Fort Wayne and then back, and then did some loops around Winona Lake, so he could show us look, there's Lakeland Christian Academy, there's Grace, there's your house, that's cool. Yeah,
that's wild.
A lot of fun. So, it was a lot of fun to be a part of that. So, the area just looks different from directly above. Mm-hmm. Gets more perspective on how close things are, how far things are apart. And,
that's cool.
And a beautiful sunny
never
day.
done that.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
How long did it take you to get to Fort Wayne?
Oh gosh, 15 minutes.
Okay.
From the Warsaw airport. Yeah.
So I read about half of the book Wizard of Lies. Do you know who that's about?
No.
Bernie Madoff.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And one of the things that blew me away was at one point he had so much money that he would get on a seaplane on the north coast of Long Island and fly into Manhattan every day.
Okay.
Could you imagine that level of wealth?
No, I can't.
Where you're just like, I want to work in New York City, but I want to live, 3/4 of the way down Long Island.
Right.
And I'll just take a seaplane into the city every day and back.
Yeah, why not?
What a wild world.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, John, we have talked NFL preseason. We have talked the state of seminary education in the U.S. We have talked the Athens Olympic Marathon. We've talked Food Truck Sunday and my flight around the area. And so I think by definition, we have covered our various and sundry topics. And all that's left to say is, until next time, the Lord bless you all real good.
Later.